It won't make a difference how much you attempt to help someone if they don't have the desire to improve themselves, regardless of how much you try to rescue them. Epictetus held the belief that our responses, and not external circumstances, determine our sentiments. You have always been there for other people, which is a quality that is hard to find these days. Having said that, it is crucial to have the realization that occasionally, despite the fact that you may have the kindest intentions, if a person isn't receptive to change, they just won't, despite the fact that you may give them assistance. Hold on, because if you stay around, this video will offer you some tips on obvious signs that might imply you're walking down a dead end, which you should do before you put your effort into possibly unsolvable circumstances. We'll go over 9 distinct sorts of individuals who, for a variety of reasons, don't want to be assisted and, as a result, often have to figure out how to handle issues on their own. Number 1. People who have covered themselves with their own illusions. Some individuals deceive themselves by telling themselves things that they have completely made up. The admonition of the Stoics, which is to look at ourselves in an honest way and to be authentic, is not followed here. It's the same as trying to cover up issues. Stoics believe that the only way to learn from our errors is to confront them head-on. The primary issue with these individuals is that they put so much stock in their fabricated narratives that they refuse to acknowledge what other people can plainly observe. They don't understand that our thoughts may distort the reality, causing us to see circumstances in accordance with how we feel rather than how they truly are. Most of the time, they do not want to do damage. Rather, they are just caught up in the routine of deceiving themselves. It's possible that it began at an upsetting time in their youth, at which point their urge to belong began to alter their worldview. It's possible that the difficulties forced them to create a comfortable world for themselves. It is difficult to assist them since they have constructed such a strong mental wall. You might attempt to persuade them that the earth is spherical, but they would likely argue against you using logic that is two-dimensional. Even when you point out the obvious to them, they will still interpret it in a way that supports their position. They need to first acknowledge that their way of thinking is flawed, which is a process that often calls for the assistance of a trained psychologist. This brings to mind the way individuals argue in today's political disputes when they steadfastly defend their position despite obvious flaws in logic and insist that they are correct, even if they wind up contradicting themselves. Opportunities seekers. A unique and lovely quality in a person is a profound understanding of other people. Stoics advocated having an empathic view of the world and experiencing the feelings of others without passing judgment on them. Be wary, however, of those who would take advantage of your generosity. Some people will abuse your vulnerability by pretending to be your buddy in order to take advantage of you. How can you tell who they are? Keep an eye on what they do. These people often ask for favors on a regular basis, even for tasks that they are capable of doing on their own, but real friends only ask for assistance when it is actually required. Certain individuals have the ability to instill feelings of guilt in others. At first, they could tell you that you are a wonderful buddy and ask if you might help them with anything. It is okay to seek assistance on occasion. Nevertheless, some individuals continually do so, despite the fact that they are capable of providing assistance to themselves. They are not concerned with how much time you have. It's a shame that you have to pitch in and help, even if you didn't want to in the first place. When you refuse, they make you feel guilty for your decision. They will not alter in any way, regardless of how many times you save them. They justify their behavior by saying that someone will always come to their aid. We strongly recommend that you remove yourself from their company and try not to feel guilty about your decision. Keep in mind that the only person you should be concerned about is yourself and the things you've committed to doing. Individuals that are exclusively concerned with themselves There are some individuals who are so focused on themselves that they believe that everything revolves around them. Imagine, for instance, that you are having a conversation with someone about how terrible the traffic has gotten in your city. Someone like them would declare that traffic isn't a problem simply because they haven't experienced any difficulties related to it. When you share something positive with them, like the news that you have a new job, they may try to dampen your excitement by talking about how dissatisfied they are with their own employment situation. It's as if they steal your joy and replace it with their own problems. That's how it feels. From this point on, even if you were starting to become the focus of everyone's attention, your buddy will take control of the conversation. At this point, everything revolves on how they are feeling. It seems as if neither what you believe nor how you feel is of any consequence. Would you continue to support someone who is solely interested in what's best for themselves? If this is the case, how much faith do you have in yourself to convince them to make a change and start caring about others other than themselves? Keep in mind that even if you attempt to assist someone improve, if they don't want to, they won't change no matter what you do. However, if the individuals around you are always putting a negative spin on things, it may be difficult for you to make progress. It's probably for the best if you steer clear of such kinds of folks. People who never acknowledge when they are wrong. These individuals do not want to admit when they were incorrect, which demonstrates that they do not really look at themselves or behave in a humble manner. Stoics and other schools of thought place a high premium on these characteristics as essential for healthy personal development. This kind of individual insists that it is never their fault, even when it clearly is. They can inform you that your misfortune was due to simple bad luck rather than pointing the finger at anybody else. It is of the utmost importance for them to accept responsibility for their mistakes and grow from the experience. These individuals do not give thought to their acts before doing, and they are unaware of the impact that their actions might have on others. They will never point the finger at themselves when things don't go well. Instead, they will point the finger at something or someone else. They are under the false impression that the decisions they make do not have an effect on other people, or even worse, they simply do not care about the outcomes of their actions. The fact of the matter is that it is difficult to assist them because they refuse to acknowledge when they are in the wrong. They are constantly under the impression that it is not their responsibility when anything unfortunate occurs as a result of the choices they make. Quite often you'll hear someone claim, "I didn't do it." It is possible that you are wasting your time if you believe that you can assist these people become better by teaching them humility. They are always able to place the blame on someone else or something else when things don't go their way. You didn't pass the test, did you? It is the fault of the instructor. Accident with a car. They point the finger at the weather. Have a dirty house. It's due of the nature of their work. Is it possible for you to assist someone who won't admit they made a mistake? We believe that it would be wise to take a step back. It is not worth your time to continue attempting to teach them a better path if they continue to fight what you are showing them. They seldom do anything except grumble and sometimes attempt to bring others down with them. It is best to put some space between yourself and the situation while you still can. People that don't prepare for the future. Imagine being unable to stop someone you care about from squandering their talents, and you being unable to do anything about it. When you attempt to tell someone that life's precious moments are passing quickly, but they don't appear to care, it may be difficult. You have faith that they are capable of far more than they give themselves credit for. Although focusing on the pleasures of the present moment is essential to a happy life, this does not negate the need of planning for the future. What we do in the present helps mold who we will become in the future. When we put our innate talents and the knowledge we've gained through experience to work to improve our lives, we experience the purest kind of happiness. Some individuals are only capable of seeing what is immediately in front of them. It's not that they don't have any talents. The problem is that they don't put any thought into how they might put those abilities to use in the future. They are skilled in a wide variety of topics. The most effective strategy to assist them is not to teach them new skills, but rather to encourage them to put what they already know into practice. In many cases, all that is required of them is to act. They are aware of their capabilities and what they are capable of doing. Yet, if they depend on constantly having support and do not act for themselves, it will be difficult for you to inspire development in them. Continuing in this manner prevents them from making any progress. Ancient philosophers were of the opinion that it is beneficial to strive towards living a better life. If this does not occur, then negative sentiments may take over. One of these sentiments is anxiety, which now affects a significant portion of the world's population. Leave a comment below saying, "I want the free ebook," if you're interested in learning how ancient philosophers achieved such high levels of pleasure and success in their lives. Those who are unable to move past life's challenges. Some individuals constantly seem to perceive the glass as being half empty, which is different from the ancient philosophers who valued tranquility and confronting difficult situations with courage and thanks. In order to maintain a mental state of equilibrium, it is essential to be aware of both the positive and negative aspects of life. Even while everyone has terrible days and experiences unpleasant emotions like anger or despair, it's quite another thing to simply focus on the problems and disregard the positive aspects of life. This would just bring more misery into your life and prevent you from appreciating the beauty that exists in the world. There are some people who seem to be experts at concentrating on the negative aspects, and you will finally realize that assisting them is a struggle that you will inevitably lose. It is only natural for you to want to help them when they discuss their problems with you. Nevertheless, it seems like they have a new problem for every response you give them. Their never-ending stream of negative energy has the potential to start rubbing off on you. It's similar to watching the news on television when the majority of the reports focus on negative events. After providing a number of potential solutions, you start to wonder if maybe they are not interested in receiving assistance and instead take pleasure in bringing attention to themselves by venting their frustrations. They could even be dissatisfied if all of their issues disappeared all of a sudden, since they seem to take some satisfaction in having a complicated web of difficulties to discuss. Some individuals constantly appear to be complaining about their problems, as if it were the only thing that mattered in their existence. They constantly bring up the fact that they do not have enough money, that they are having troubles with their children, that they are having issues with their relationship, or that they are experiencing dissatisfaction at work. Do you think it's possible to make a significant improvement in the lives of someone who is dissatisfied with every facet of their existence? And do they really want aid from you? It's possible that even trying won't be worth it. If you want to have a happy attitude and maintain your energy level, it's probably best to let them find their own way. We can only hope that with the passage of time, they would become less pessimistic in their outlook. Spend your time and energy on those who really appreciate your guidance and who are motivated to develop instead. If you don't, you run the risk of becoming just as pessimistic as the person you were attempting to assist in the first place. People who believe that nothing they do ever causes a problem. They are quick to criticize others but never take the time to examine their own actions. This runs counter to the notion that we should only concentrate on how we respond to different circumstances rather than the circumstances themselves. When we let our emotions take control of our responses, instead of taking command of them ourselves, we end up feeling confused. How do you assist someone who attributes all of their challenges on the actions of others and is unable to see their own shortcomings? If they are unable to see where they may be making mistakes, They will never make an effort to improve because they will think that they are already the greatest. There are some individuals who never stop pointing the finger at others, either because they are unable to see their own failings or because they just prefer not to. They believe that other people are to blame for their lack of friends. They will claim that excellent food is expensive, even if they aren't eating right themselves. They blame the interviewer for their failure to get employment because they think the interviewer has it in for them. Your best course of action is to step back and allow them to learn from their own experiences as they go through life. They may eventually become aware of the true problems. People who believe that the world should treat them favorably. There are some people who have the mindset that the world should cater to their every whim and want. They believe that just existing makes them extraordinary in and of itself. The Stoic philosophy instructs us to live in harmony with both the natural world and other people. They think that one should have to work for respect and rewards. Although there are others with good intentions who desire to assist these persons in having a new perspective on reality, the majority of the time, these individuals do not see the counsel as being kind. It's possible that they even feel threatened. Some individuals have the misconception that just because they are attractive, other people should cater to their needs. This mentality makes it difficult for those who are attempting to assist others, since they are often taken advantage of in these situations. Even with individuals who have assisted them in the past, some people have the misconception that they are entitled to special treatment if things do not go their way. They give the impression of being wounded and may attempt to manipulate the situation. When they are confronted with the same conduct that they have been displaying, it is typically when they will realize that they need to change. People that do not wish to improve themselves or learn. Stoicism encourages us to have a deeper understanding of ourselves and to strive for continuous growth. However, there are some individuals who don't want to acknowledge their flaws or develop. Instead, they want to remain the same and often place blame on others for their issues. It might be challenging to assist them since they do not pay attention to what you say or follow your suggestions. For instance, Joe is the kind of person who will never confess when he is wrong, even when he is obviously in the wrong. He is never able to accept responsibility for his own actions. Sarah is given input at work on how she might improve her performance, but she chooses to disregard it since she believes that the way she does things is the best way. Mike has a lot of problems in his relationships, but he usually blames it on the fact that he hasn't found the proper person to be with, rather than looking at his own actions. Linda often has trouble making ends meet, but rather than developing a spending plan or saving money, she places the blame on her work for not paying her enough. It is sometimes in everyone's best interest to provide them the freedom to work things out on their own. It is not necessary for you to constantly direct them step by step. Stoicism encourages us to establish solid connections, take responsibility for our actions, and be one with nature. By putting these teachings into practice, we may work toward the goal of leading a life that is meaningful and in harmony with the cosmos. To be successful in this endeavor, having a strong attitude, much as the Stoics did, is necessary. Do you want to learn how? Watch the video that's now playing on the screen. I'll see you again soon.
Aurelius's wisdom as we continue to look at the philosophies that make a person invincible. We should use his meditations as a guide for our own, and we should build our strong selves on the discipline he preached. Our journey doesn't end here, because each philosopher's view adds something different to the person we're trying to become. We are getting closer to having the unstoppable spirit they fought for as we use their ideas to shape our own lives. This is a lasting testament to the power of the human will when led by wisdom, discipline, and the courage to look within. The Stoic philosopher, politician, and writer Lucius Seneca had a particularly clear view of challenges that can significantly change how we face life's natural challenges. The way we think about and deal with problems can be changed by reading his works, to become a powerful person. Seneca's perspective on adversity is very different from what most people think. He says we should treat challenges like friends because they bring gifts like the chance to grow, get stronger, and learn more about ourselves. The heat of adversity is when our character is put to the test and our resilience is built. As the saying goes, fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men. Stoic philosophy is firmly based in the idea that challenges can be used to develop better character. Seneca thought that the hard things in life should not just be tolerated, but should be used to build one's inner strength. We acquire the virtues of courage, patience, and resilience by meeting and getting past problems. Seneca says that we should change how we deal with adversity in order to develop this mindset. We don't have to see obstacles as impossible limits. Instead, we can see them as hurdles that can be jumped and are even necessary for growth. The goal is to change our perspective so that we see adversity as a necessary part of the journey rather than as a side trip. The practice of choosing pain is a good way to change the way you think about problems. We inoculate ourselves against the fear of future adversity by purposefully putting ourselves in difficult situations, whether it be through public speaking, physical exercise, or any other activity outside of our comfort zone. These challenges we set for ourselves are like workouts for our spirits. They get us ready for the bigger problems that life will surely throw at us. In the face of adversity, Seneca also promotes thought. When we are going through hard times, we don't have to respond right away with anger or hopelessness. Instead, we can take a moment to think about what is going on. As part of this thought, we might ask what virtues we can practice right now, what lessons we can learn, and how we can act in a way that is in line with our greatest values. Seneca says that another way to deal with problems is to learn from people who have been through similar challenges and come out on top. We can get ideas and advice for our own situations by looking at how they overcame adversity and studying their lives. In addition to being a learning activity, this is a way to draw on the power and wisdom of all human experience. Seneca also says that we should have a deep understanding of how temporary life's problems are. We can learn to be patient and strong by realizing that all trials get easier with time. We can keep our cool and keep our problems in perspective by remembering that adversity is not forever. Seneca also suggests actions that can help build a powerful character in addition to these intellectual ideas. Building a network of helpful relationships, for example, can offer both comfort and guidance when you're having a hard time. A healthy lifestyle that includes regular exercise and a well-balanced diet can also increase our physical resilience, which in turn supports our mental and emotional grit. Finally, Seneca's thoughts on adversity tell us to pay attention to what adversity teaches us about our own strengths and weaknesses. Every problem we solve shows how strong we are and how much we can grow. After each challenge, it's important to take some time to think about what we've learned about our skills and flaws, and the endless ways we can grow as people. Adversity is reframed through Seneca's wisdom as a teacher who challenges us to grow rather than as a foe to be feared. Based on how we react, it is a strong force that can either beat us or help us reach new heights. We develop into people with unbreakable spirits and characters that are truly unbeatable as a result of facing and overcoming adversity. By embracing Seneca's lessons, we can make sure that our life journey isn't marked by the difficulties we face, but rather by the grace and power with which we overcome them. Epictetus was born into slavery and later freed. He is remembered as one of the most useful philosophers of ancient times of history. His lessons serve as a guide to unwavering character strength and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. One of the most important ideas in his philosophy is the dichotomy of control, which tells us what we can and can't control. Epictetus summed up this idea perfectly in his Enchiridion. Some things are in our control and others not. This simple but deep mantra is the foundation of Stoic peace and success. Epictetus said that an invincible character doesn't try to control things that can't be controlled, but instead learns to master their own thoughts, plans, and actions. You can't say enough about how important this philosophy is in modern life. The dichotomy of control acts as a beacon that guides us through the chaos by directing our energy on our own actions, decisions, and attitudes in a world that is full of doubt and things outside of our control. We keep our mental and emotional energy in check and channel it toward positive change. Think about the professional who is dealing with a quick market turn for modern implementation. Their actions are not under their control, but the way the market moves is. They can complain about how unfair things are, or work on changing their plans, picking up new skills, and coming up with creative answers that they can control. Relationships with people are another example. People's actions and feelings are out of our control, but we can choose how we react when there is disagreement or confusion. In order to keep our calm and ethics, Epictetus's lessons would require us to look inward and control our own emotions and actions. Having this mindset can also help you improve yourself. Not being able to change our natural skills is something we can control, but the work we put into improving them is. If a student doesn't understand a subject as fast as their friends, they can choose to study more, get help, or find other ways to learn. The attention stays on the steps that can be taken and are within one's control. But how do we know what we can control and what we can't? Through thought, mindfulness, and practice, one can improve their ability to understand. We can figure out where to put our efforts most effectively by asking ourselves if we can change, influence, or affect how something turns out. Epictetus also tells us that acceptance of what we cannot control is not the same as giving up. It is an active involvement with reality. It means recognizing that some things in life just are the way they are. This acceptance frees us from the stress of trying to change things that can't be changed and points us in the direction of our own power. One could use daily rituals that strengthen this Stoic frame of mind in their drive to become invincible. When one considers the events of the day and determines what was within their control and what was not, journaling can be an effective tool. Mindfulness and meditation can also help calm the mind by making you more aware of the difference between pointless worry about things you can't change and useful action you can take control of. Another Stoic exercise that involves mentally preparing for possible challenges is premeditatio malorum. Visualizing problems can help people learn how to deal with them calmly and focus on what they can control instead of letting unexpected events overwhelm them. It is important to embrace challenges as chances to learn and grow in order to further develop one's character in the Epictetus tradition. So instead of avoiding or whining about tough situations, we can see them as chances to show how much control we have over our actions and choices. The strength of our determination is put to the test in the face of adversity, and our ability to control ourselves grows. The dichotomy of control can also serve as a guide in goal setting and time management in our modern lives. Focusing on our own work and making goals that are attainable helps us feel like we've accomplished something and have a purpose. Managing our time shows what's important to us by putting our most valuable resource, time, to work on things we can control and that are in line with our values and goals. It can be beneficial to incorporate Epictetus's philosophy into our daily lives. It has the power to change how we feel about success and loss, how we think about impact, and even who we are. We become masters of our own fate when we give up the idea of control over the huge machinery of the world and work on being in charge of our own will and actions. We become basically invincible, not by making sure that everything outside of us bends to our will, but by adapting to the way things really are and using our will with precision and wisdom. Although we cannot control the wind, we can change the sails. We are on the way to becoming invincible through this change. Epictetus's ideas seem very easy, but they are actually very deep. Instead of calling us to an easy life, they want us to live a life of worthwhile struggle, one in which our true impact is both known and felt. We carry with us the Stoic wisdom that the most powerful thing is how we react to the world around us, how our hearts beat steadily because they know how strong they are, and how our minds are calm because they don't look at the storm but trust that they can handle it. Because of Epictetus's timeless wisdom, we can focus on our actions, have the strength to let go of things we can't control, and understand that the invincible character is formed through the interaction between acceptance and action. We can all start this trip, which leads to freedom and the power that comes from within. Greek philosopher Socrates used his conversations like a surgeon's blade, cutting through the layers of social rules to get to the heart of what it means to be human. His legacy is the Socratic method, a way of arguing and working together that encourages critical thought and brings out underlying assumptions. This method wasn't just for teaching, it was also a tool for the most in-depth forms of self-exploration and self-knowledge, which Socrates thought were the most important things a human could do with their lives. The saying, "Know thyself," was written on the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. Socrates lived by this saying and pushed it very hard. He thought that knowing yourself was the route to wisdom and the basis of a strong character. According to Socrates, a life that had not been examined was not worth living, because only through examination could one attain the greatest virtue and lead a life of true happiness and satisfaction. For Socrates, self-knowledge meant more than just thinking about yourself. It meant knowing your place in the universe, your strengths, your weaknesses, your wants, and most importantly, what you don't know. When we admit that we don't know something, we open the way to real understanding. Being deeply aware of oneself in this way leads to self-mastery, because one is less affected by outside factors and more led by knowing their own real nature and ideals. Socratic self-examination means asking ourselves about our views and ideals, looking into where they come from, and seeing how well they hold up. To become invincible, you have to be ready to question deeply held views and be humble enough to admit when you're wrong. Being this self-aware helps you build a strong, flexible, and open-to-growth personality. Awareness of oneself is not a goal, but a path that never ends. It is the basis for a life with meaning and purpose. For Socrates, an unexamined life is not worth living, because knowing ourselves is the key to real wisdom and makes us the masters of our own lives. Socrates says it also means fully understanding the power of our own will and choice. Being self-aware helps us see that we are in charge of our own lives and accountable for the choices and actions we make. With this information, we can make sure that our actions are consistent with our principles, which will help us live a true and honest life. In addition, Socrates' quest for self-knowledge was linked to his desire to live a good life. He said that virtue and knowledge are inextricably linked, which means that the more we know about ourselves, the more virtue-filled our lives will be. Then knowing yourself is not only a good thing to do, it's also the right thing to do. How, then, can we use Socratic self-knowledge to make our lives powerful today? The Socratic method itself tells us something. We are pushed to make our thoughts and views clearer when we talk with people who disagree with us. This dialectic process can also be used on an internal level, such as when we write in a journal or meditate and have a conversation with ourselves, asking ourselves questions about their reasons, their goals, and how well their actions match their values. Making choices is another way that Socratic self-knowledge can be used. We can make decisions that are not only successful, but also true to who we are at our core when we have a clear understanding of our ideals and principles. Being able to see how our actions and ideals match up gives us the strength and confidence to handle life's challenges with ease. Today, when non-stop input and outside approval can make it hard to see ourselves clearly, Socrates' focus on knowing oneself is more important than ever. To find the truth of who we are, it tells us to turn inward and away from the noise. Our thoughts, feelings, and wants are like invitations to get to know ourselves better. Finding out more about yourself can also help you find your way when you don't know what to do. Know who you are and what you stand for. That way, you can handle life's challenges with purpose and direction. This internal guide is what makes someone unbeatable, not because they never face challenges, but because they don't change who they are when they do. To put it simply, Socrates said that knowing yourself gives you the power to live a purposeful and honest life. It's realizing that internal wisdom, not outward praise or accomplishments, is where a powerful character comes from. We gain the strength, clarity, and confidence to live life on our own terms here, in the realm of self. This makes us unstoppable on our way to reaching the greatest levels of human potential. The deep understanding that seeking self-knowledge is the most important trip a person can take is what Socrates brought to the idea of an unbreakable character. That path doesn't end with reflection. It goes on into every part of life and demands consistency in thought, word, and deed, which is what makes a life well lived and a character that can't be stopped. Developing a character that can't be stopped isn't a race. It's a run with no finish line, a never-ending process of growth, struggle, and reflection. Every philosopher and author we've talked about has something different to give that adds to the patchwork of an unbreakable spirit. Emerson's strong call for independence and Nietzsche's fiery call to embrace life's battles with amor fati are both important parts of character. Nietzsche challenges us to not only accept our fates, but to love them and to see every moment of adversity as a step toward our personal greatness. With the same energy, Emerson fights for individualism and encourages us to be strong by following our inner voice and moral standards. Marcus Aurelius's meditations show us how to be stoic in both our actions and our thoughts. They teach us the peace that comes from being able to control ourselves and living a meaningful life. His intellectual cousin Epictetus gives us the dichotomy of control, instructing us to focus our efforts on things we can change while developing acceptance for things outside of our control. By looking at problems in a new way, Seneca's writings on adversity encourage us to see problems as chances to grow and to understand that real progress often comes in the form of bad luck. Socrates, the model of the philosophy life, urges us to do the difficult but satisfying work of self-examination, which is the foundation of growing as a person and having a good life. Each of these great minds adds to a more complete picture of character development that takes into account the complicated and contradictory nature of being human. They tell us that building a powerful character is an ongoing process that needs patience, determination, and a strong desire to be exposed to all of life's experiences. As we come to the end of this study, let us not see it as a conclusion, but as a call to action. You shouldn't just idly take in the wisdom of these philosophers and authors. You should interact with it. It's a call to make their lessons a part of our everyday lives, to test their principles against our own experiences, and to shape their ideas into tools that work for us. We are urged to embrace philosophy not as a dry academic exercise, but as a living, breathing part of our existence. We are encouraged to question like Socrates, endure like Seneca, Discipline our thoughts and actions like Marcus Aurelius, focus our energies like Epictetus, love our fate like Nietzsche, and trust ourselves like Emerson. In the end, making a character that can't be stopped is an art form. Life is the painting, and our actions are the brushstrokes. It is a deeply personal goal that strikes a chord with everyone, a pledge that is hard to keep but very much worth it. Let us not carry the wisdom of these great thinkers as a burden, but as lanterns in the dark that point us to our own inner light as we go forth. So, I want to ask you, the watcher, to use these lessons as protection and a guide as you go through life. Think about them, question them, and use them. By doing these things, you'll build the strong character that is uniquely yours. Choose to grow, evolve, and reach your full potential. May this lifelong quest give you not only the strength to conquer, but also the joy of the road to becoming truly unstoppable.